Hello, intermediate band. This is our second installment of our theory assignments and work that we're doing in Theory Realm. And thank you for those of you who gave me last week's homework already. I appreciate getting those. Hopefully the rest of them will come tomorrow at band. And here is this new thing. Today we're going to be talking about key signatures and how you create them, what they mean, and just how to gain the most information from them. So I have a slideshow for you so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about. I'm going to share it with you now. All right, so all things key signature today. We're going to learn about the order of flats and sharps and where we get the key signatures, where do they come from, what do they mean, and how do we name a key from a key signature? So kind of both directions of this. Okay, so key signatures tell you what notes will be used mostly for the song. Of course, you can still have accidentals, but for the most part, they tell you what notes you will be using for this piece. It is located at the beginning of the song, in between the time signature and the clef, and I kind of have drawn a circle around the key signature in this example. So it's always there. I like things that are absolutes, so we don't have to worry about a bunch of exceptions. That's always where the key signature will show up. There is a specific order that the flats and sharps come in, and this also helps us to memorize it and know exactly what we're dealing with. The key signature always follows the same order. I love that. There is no exceptions to the order. Flats always go from left to right, and sharps always go the opposite direction, right to left. This thing in the middle is the order, and I learned it way back in 7th grade, and I learned it the same day that my math teacher showed me the greatest common factor. So it's forever embedded in my head that way. So I always remembered that it spells the word bead, B-E-A-D, and then greatest common factor. You can use whatever you want in order to memorize that, but it's worked for me for a long time, so I'm passing it on to you. Flats always go left to right, sharps always go the other direction. So if a piece has two flats, here we have 1, 2, hopefully you can see my cursor, that is B flat and E flat, always. If a piece has 3 sharps, you have F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp, and they will always be that. Again, absolute truth, we love that. Okay, so this little picture of the flats and sharps, the bead greatest common factor, you really just should memorize, because it'll make your life a lot easier if you know that without having to always try to look it up. So bead greatest common factor gets the job done for me. Where do the key signatures come from? Where do we get these things? What do they mean? How do they help us? Key signatures are derived from the scales, those scales that you worked on last week on how to create. That's where we get them. Major keys and minor keys both have key signatures. We're only going to be discussing the major key signatures today. For the key of D major, the scale, which you hopefully figured out already, was D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and then end on D. So you can see that we have 2 sharps, F sharp and C sharp in this scale. Okay, and that is the order. If you remember bead greatest common factor, F sharp comes first and then C sharp. After you've created the scale, note the flats and sharps and put them in the correct order. That's what we just did, F sharp, C sharp. Then you have the key signature for this scale. So if you see a key signature that looks like this, and it is a major key, again, we're only talking about major keys today, the name of the key is D, and it will use the D major scale. How do you name a key if you already have the key signature? For major keys, again, we're only talking major keys today. For flat keys, there's some simple rules to follow that will get you to figure out that information. The first thing to do is to look to the second to the last flat in the key signature. That note is the name of the key. So, for example, if the key signature has 3 flats, B flat, E flat, and A flat, The second to the last flat is E flat. So the name of the key is E flat major. Done and done. Pretty simple, right? Couple little steps to get you there. Second to the last flat, that name is the name of the key. So if you had a key signature with 3 flats in it, you know you're going to be using the E flat scale as long as it's a major key. For sharp keys, you look at the last sharp of the key signature, then go up a half step or 1 letter name from that note, and that is the name of the key. An example is if you have 4 sharps, they will be F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. The last sharp I mentioned is D sharp. Go up a half step, that name is E. 4 sharps in the major keys are E major. Okay, I went through that really fast, so feel free to replay this part and play around it, try it, grab some music and see how many of them that you can figure out. It's not hard, but there's a couple little steps, and they are different between flats and sharps. So it is in your best interest to practice a little bit. There are some exceptions, of course. Not everything is absolute truth. The key without any sharps or flats in it, a lot of students say, oh, that one has no key signature. No, it does have one. It just doesn't have anything in it. And that name of the key is C major. You just have to memorize it. The key signature that has 1 flat is the key of F major. And that flat is still B flat. It still follows that rule. And you just have to memorize this too. If you only have 1 sharp in your key signature, it actually does still follow the rules, but there is only 1 sharp. So it is the last one, also the first one. And the sharp is F sharp. And the name of the key is G major. So G major does follow the rules. It just that people get confused because there's only 1 sharp. So they kind of think that weirds them out for some reason. It's really not any mystery, okay? So I gave you a lot of information rather quickly. Hopefully that'll help you. You will also be getting a handout that I would normally give to you in class that you can print off yourself that has the exact same information on it, as well as your actual assignment. So again, if you have any questions or any confusion regarding this at all, feel free to email me. I will be happy to go over it with you again and help you out. Until then, I'll see you next week in band, I hope. Thank you.